Hello and welcome to the 32nd video in the PHP e-commerce series. My name is Curtis and this is Free Skills. Well, this is the video you've all been waiting for. We are going to charge a credit card and have it process the credit card and add money to our Stripe account. So let's get going straight away. Let's go ahead and go to the only files we're going to need open in this video are our cart.php and our thankyou.php. And we're going to start in the cart.php. So we're going to be working alongside, if we just go to here to Stripe, I'm going to close Composer here. And in the documentation, if you scroll up to the top, it says development and then it has custom forms right here. If I click on that, it gives us an example on how to use custom forms because we have a custom form, and so we don't need to do this. We've already built our form. So let's go down here and it says step 1, we need to collect the credit card information, and then it says first include stripe.js in the page. Now we've already done that in our head, so we've already done this step, so we can skip that. And then it's asking us to set our publishable key. Now this key needs to be the public key because if you never want to show anyone your private key. And what we're going to do is just copy this Stripe set publishable key line right here. We'll copy that, and then our cart PHP, down here at the bottom of cart PHP we have this script tag, and underneath our check address function we're just going to go ahead and copy that right there. And this stripe.set publishable key, this right here, we're just going to remove this, okay? And what we want to do is inside of our string here, we're going to echo out some PHP, and we're going to do it was our constant that we set up, stripe underscore public. Okay, so if you remember in our config, where'd that go? Config.php, we have stripe underscore public and stripe underscore private set here. So that will replace this key with that. So that's it. That's all we need to do to set that publishable key. So that's step 2. Alright, the next thing that we're going to do, just go back to, it says create a single use token. So what we're going to do is copy all of this right here, this whole deal. Alright, so copy that, and we're going to paste that in right here. And you can see that it's grabbing the submit function, it's intercepting the submit function when we submit the form, and that ID was payment form, and we've already set that ID in this form up here. So I just want to show you that. We don't need to do that, but if you change that for any reason, you'll need to change it back. So right here, this ID is payment form. That's what we need. So let's just kind of explain what that code does. We grab the form and we listen for the submit event, and then when the submit event happens, we grab the form, okay, and we set it to this. We set it right here to this. This is a referencing variable, and then what we do is we find the button and it disables it. Okay, so that stops the submit button from someone clicking the submit button over and over again. And then this line right here is the most important line. This creates the Stripe card create token. So it grabs the form information and then this is the response handler. And then this return false prevents the form from submitting. Okay, so we don't want it to go to the thank you page just yet because we need to do something else with this information. So I'm going to save that, and we're going to go back to Stripe here, Alright. See this sending the form to your server? Let's go ahead and grab this function. Okay. And copy that whole thing here. And in our JavaScript, above this function, but after our publishable key, we're going to paste that Stripe response handler. Now that is this right here. It's being called when we create our token. So here's our response handler. And again, this just takes our form, sets the form up, and if there's an error, we're going to find the payment errors class, and actually what we want to do is change that class to an ID. So it's going to find that payment errors, and then it's going to put the error message in there. So say the credit card doesn't validate, it'll do that. This line will stop them from repeatedly pushing the button, so it disables the button temporarily. And if there aren't any errors, then it sets this token equal to the response ID, and then it appends a hidden input with the name of Stripe token to our form, and it plugs in that token. And then after that, it actually submits the form. So that will send all that information, including this this hidden input that it adds, the Stripe token, to our server. So we're not quite done just yet, but we're getting close. Before we move on, let's go up here, and we need to go to the stripe.js, I believe. Yeah. So here are the things that we can pass to Stripe in the card information. So what we want to do is, let's go back to our cart and let's go back up to our form. Now we're going to add some data attributes to these form fields. So let's see. We have the name, the cardholder name, we have the address. All the address fields can be sent. The number, expiration month, expiration year, and CVC. So let's go ahead and set all that up. Now remember earlier how in the second part of the form we didn't have any names, but we need to use that information. We're sending that to Stripe servers and let them handle all that funky information. But what we can do here is, on the name on the card, we're going to add data dash Stripe is equal to, and then on this one it's just going to be name. And how do I know that? It's because this is this right here. Okay, that's the card holder name. And then for the card number, we're going to say data Stripe equals number. Okay, and then for the CVC, data Stripe CVC, and then let's see, we have expiration month and expiration year. So right here in expiration month, right here in the select, we're going to add data Stripe equals exp underscore month, and then in the year, in the select, we're going to add data Stripe exp underscore year. So then we can go and also send the address, so the shipping address, or I'm sorry, these are going to be the billing address. So let's see, we'll start up here with street address, and that will be data Stripe, and that was let's look again, that was address line 1. Okay, and then data Stripe, and this one was address line 2, and then I think we just got address city, address state. Okay, data Stripe, and we have address city, and then state right here we'll do address state. This is going to be address zip, and then this one is going to be address country. Alright, so let's take a look here. Oops. Okay. Alright, so that will grab all of that. The next thing that we want to do, let's go back to our custom form in the documentation here. And we've set up all of this. So next up it says, once we have all that set up, we can charge the user immediately or sign them up for a subscription. Now we're not doing a monthly subscription on this, so we're just going to charge our user immediately. And we need to choose our language, which is PHP. Okay. And let's see. Now, in our PHP here, they've given us the PHP to actually charge the card. We're going to do some other things besides just this, but we're just going to go ahead and we will copy all of this. And let's go to our thank you PHP now. We can just get rid of that. And we're going to open some PHP tags here. And we'll go down a few lines and close it. And I'm going to go down a few lines here and just go ahead and paste that in. And we'll adjust this as we go to fit our needs. Okay. So the first thing that we need to do is require a core init. So we're going to say require once. And by the way, this file is what is going to, the form is going to be, this is what the form is posted to once everything has been posted and works correctly. So require once, and I'm just going to say core init.php. Okay. Then this Stripe, this right here is actually calling, this is calling our Stripe out of our vendor here. It's going to call the set API key. So this is a function here, and I don't want to just put this statically there. What I want to do is replace that with our constant that we set up. So this will be private. Now this is on our server, so we don't have to worry about anyone seeing this. So Stripe underscore private, and that is coming from our config here. So it will be this, or if it's live, it'll be this. Okay. So now we have our Stripe private API key set. All right. Then, and you remember that in our cart PHP down here, once this right here, this was we had an input that was appended to our form. So when this gets posted, we have access to this Stripe token now, and so that is what this is. This token equals this posted Stripe token. Alright, so that's good news. One thing I want to do underneath here is we're going to go ahead and grab the rest of our variables that have been, our rest of our post data. So I'm just going to say get the rest of the post data as a comment, and we're going to start out, and I know this is going to be kind of boring, but we're going to grab all of our deals here, and of course we're going to sanitize. Okay. be able to use all of this in our store all this information in our database for our shipping address and things like that. Should be copying and pasting, so I'm going to go ahead and do that for the rest of these and copy this city one here. So we'll have state, zip code, country, and then we're going to have tax, subtotal, grand total, cart ID, description, charge amount, and that is it for now. So what we can do in city here, we're going to put state, and then we'll say after state, zip code, then we got country, we'll have tax. Some of this we haven't set up yet to be posted. Okay. And then we'll have, after our subtotal, we're going to have grand total. And then we're going to pass this our cart ID. And then description, and then after the description we're going to put charge underscore amount, and that's actually not going to be posted value. What's kind of weird about Stripe, well, what was weird to me in the beginning is that they want all their amounts that's charged to them in cents. So in US dollars you usually have, you know, cents, and it goes to the 100th value. So what we have to do is take our decimal value of the money and times it by 100. So what we need to do is run our number format function to make sure that we're only 2 decimals, and we're going to pass that in our grand total. This is the total amount that we're charging to the card, and we're going to make sure that that is rounded to the 2nd decimal place. That's what that 2 does. And then what I want to do is I want to times that by 100. And when I do that, it's going to get rid of these 2 decimals and put this into it's going to put this into the cents. So that's what we want, is the amount of money in cents that we're charging. So you have to look up in your country for your currency how that works. I think whatever your lowest denominator is for your money is what they want it the money to be charged in. Okay, so then we're going to create an array here called metadata, and this will be sent to Stripe. So Stripe allows you to store metadata, I think, with up to 20 key value pairs. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's what it is. You can look in the documentation to be certain. But I'm only going to send 3. I'm going to send cart ID. Okay. And then I'm going to send tax. And subtotal. Okay. Let's clean this up a little bit. Okay. So we have all of our elements set up here in our thank you page, but there's some of these that we haven't yet posted from our form, so we need to go ahead and grab that really quickly. So let's head back over to the cart.php, and the way that we're going to do that is we're going to add some hidden elements to the form, much like Stripe does with appending a hidden input. So let's see here, right below our form element, let me find it here, right here, and I guess below our span tag, it doesn't really matter, these are hidden, but I'm going to do an input with a type of hidden and a name of we'll do tax first, and then that will get a value, and the value will be echoed out with PHP, so that'd be tax. Alright, and we'll add another input, type hidden, name, subtotal, and we'll do a value on that as well. And now I'm going to echo out with PHP subtotal. We'll do another one. So after subtotal, we'll do grand total. Okay, and then we need our cart ID, and I did that wrong. So the name is cart ID, and the type is hidden. Right, and the value, just echo out that, and it's just cart ID. Okay, and then do another hidden one. This is going to be description, value, alright, for the description, we're going to kind of build up a string here. So we're going to echo out some PHP, and we're going to echo the item count, and we'll concatenate onto that. Okay, item, and that item we want to concatenate on an S if it's plural, or just we won't if it's not. So we'll concatenate on a ternary operator here, and so we'll set that up really quickly. So we're going to check for is if item count is greater than 1, then we want to concatenate on an S. If it's not, we're not going to concatenate on anything. That way it won't have a funky S on there if they're just getting one item. And then after that, we're going to concatenate on from Shanta's boutique. And that's all I'm going to do for mine. So then I just need to close my PHP tags there. We can go back to our thank you page now, and we would have posted all of our inputs, and that will be all of these. We're grabbing all that input here, and let's see. So now we're going to do a TryCatch block, and what we're going to do is let's build up the catch block first. So the catch will be if it fails, okay, one thing so if it fails, we have this E right here, and there are in the Stripe documentation, you could go to the API reference and check out the errors and see how you can display your errors. For me, for now, just to get this done, I'm just going to echo E. Alright, so that will be, if there's an error when they try to charge the card, it will just echo that error out. I would definitely recommend making that prettier and kind of going along with the API. That could be a homework assignment. Okay, but the try. Okay, so this is what it's going to try to charge the card. So we're setting this charge object up here, and we're running this charge class that is included in our Stripe libraries, and we're running a method called create. So we're creating a charge, and the amount right here, see there's a thing that's comment that says amount in cents. We'll just get rid of this. This would be $10, and what we're going to do there instead is pass that our charge amount. Okay, and then for currency, I'm going to get rid of this US dollar here, and instead I'm going to just put our constant that we set up in our config file, currency. Alright, and then for source, that source is, we want to keep that at token. Now token was passed to us here from the Stripe token, so that's our source. We're going to keep that, and then the description, we're going to get rid of this example charge, and we're going to replace that with our description that we posted to this. And then I'm going to add a few more things here. One, I'm going to set up, and I found this in the API reference, but I'm going to set up a receipt underscore email, and if you do this, it will email them a receipt. Now it won't do that on test mode, it'll only do it on live mode. So if you're not receiving the emails, just know it's because you're on test. Alright, the other thing I want to pass is the metadata. Okay, and that we set up here was our array, so we just pass that our metadata, and I believe that's it. So this will create the charge. Okay, once the charge is created, we're going to do some other things. The first thing that we want to do, if you remember in our database, we have this paid set to 0. Well, if the charge is successful, then we're going to update that to be 1 or paid. So the first thing we do is just do a db query, and we're going to say update cart set paid equal to 1, where ID is equal to cart ID. So that I'll set that to 1. So that one will be paid. And then what we also want to do is we need to set up, now let's save this out and let's head over to our database, and we need to set up a new table called transactions to store all these transactions in. So I'm going to hit new. In our tutorial, or for me it's a tutorial, whatever your database you're using, I'm going to hit new. And I'm going to create a new table called transactions 17. So I'm going to add 13 more columns to this, and we're just going to go through and set up this database. So ID is going to be auto increment primary and primary key, and then we're going to do charge ID, and this needs to be a varchar 255, and then we'll do cart ID, and that can stay at an int, and then we're going to do full name, and we'll do varchar 255 on that, and then we'll do email, we'll do varchar 175 on that, and then we'll do street. For street, we'll do varchar 255, street 2, do varchar 255, and then city, varchar 175, state 175 again. You can set those at 255 if you want. I don't think there are any states or cities that are going to be more than 175 characters, but hey, I could be wrong. So zip code, I'm just going to set that at 50, varchar 50, and then we got country, set that at varchar 175, and then we'll do subtotal. We'll set that as a decimal, and we'll do 10, 2. Alright, and then we'll do tax. That will also be a decimal, 10, 2. We'll do grand total. That'll be decimal, 10, 2. We'll do description. We'll just set that to text. Okay. And then we're going to do TXN type for transaction type, and we're just going to set that to varchar 255, and then we're going to do TXN date for transaction date, and we'll set that to date time, and then for default we're going to put current timestamp. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to go over and hit save. Alright, so now we have our transactions table. If we look at our structure, here's our structure. Okay, so now since we've set up that transactions in the table, we can actually go ahead and add the information to that transaction here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is say insert into transactions. Okay, and then we'll do that, and we'll say values, and then we'll do that. Alright, so what I want to do here is start setting up our do charge ID, cart ID, full name, email, street 2, city, state, zip code, and then country, and then sub total, tax, grand total, description, TXN type. Alright, so we got to keep these in the same order. So what we're going to do is say now we have access to charge ID here because we set this charge here, and so that's an object, so we can grab the ID from that object. Alright, and so then we could say cart ID. Each one of these are going to be a comma in between them, and then we got full name, email, street 2, city, state, zip code, country, subtotal, tax, and then we got grand total, and then description, and then for the transaction type, what we need to do is pass it in the charge, and I got this from the API reference in Stripe, the object. So we're going to return the object here, and that will give us a transaction type. Not really sure why they called it that, but that's what it is. And I can see that if you go to the API libraries, I'm sorry, a full API reference, and then we can do charges, and then we got the charge object here. So if you look, here's the charge object. Create a charge. Here's the response from the charge. So you just kind of look through this. If you look through this, you can definitely see in their API how everything's returned and what everything's called here. So that's how where I learned everything is in this API reference. Okay, so just kind of look through that and find it. All right, so let's go back to our thank you page here, and so after this, after we've entered that into the database, what we want to do is, let's see. Okay. Yeah, so what we want to do is go ahead and set our domain, and we've done this before. It'd probably be wise to do this in our core init, so we don't have to keep doing this, but I don't know. So we'll do our server, and that was the HTTP host. Okay, so if the server HTTP host is not equal to localhost, okay, then we're going to put this at $_server. Whoops. Wow. $_server HTTP host. Okay. And then if it is localhost, we're going to set this to false. And the reason we're doing that is because we need to set the cookie. And actually what we're doing here is we're destroying the cookie. So we'll say cart cookie, this is our cookie name. And then we're going to set that to an empty string, and then put 1, and then our path is the root, and then our domain is domain, and we'll set security to false. Okay. And then what I want to do is we're actually going to print to the screen like a thank you message. So we'll include our includes /head.php, and then we'll include /navigation.php, and we'll include our header partial.php. Let's go down a few lines here, and I'm going to do one more include, and we'll say include footer.php. Okay. Then what I want to do is just go ahead and close PHP, and then before this line we'll open PHP back up. And we're going to put some HTML in here. So the HTML, we're just going to do an h1, and we'll give it a class of text center, and we'll also do text success. Okay, and we'll just say thank you. Okay, and then we'll do a paragraph tag here, and we'll say your card has been successfully charged, and then I want to echo out our money function, and we'll just put the grand total there. Okay. Alright, and you have been emailed a receipt. Please check your spam folder if it is not in your inbox. Additionally, you can print this page as a receipt. Okay. Got the I and E backwards here. And then we'll close that paragraph tag. Alright, and we will do another paragraph tag. Let's go ahead and close that while we're here. We'll say your receipt, it's EI. Yep, your receipt number is, and then we'll go ahead and put in strong tags here. We will echo out the cart ID. Okay. And then we'll say another paragraph tag. Let's say your order will be shipped to the address below. Alright, so then what we're going to do is do some address tags here. And we're going to do full name. We'll put a break tag, and then we'll do street, break tag, and then for street 2, a lot of people won't have street 2, so what we're going to do here is we're going to do a ternary operator. Okay, and inside the ternary operator, we're just going to say if street 2 is not equal to a blank string. If it's not, then we're going to echo out street 2, and then we'll concatenate onto that a break tag. Okay, and if it is empty to a blank string, we're just going to echo a blank string there. And then the next thing we're going to do is echo out city, and then we're going to concatenate on a space, and then we'll concatenate on state, and then we're going to concatenate on a space again. And actually, after city, it's a comma and a space. Okay, and then we'll concatenate on the zip code. Okay, and then we'll do a break tag, and then last but not least, we'll echo out our country, and we'll do a break tag. Okay, so that's it for our this is it for our thank you page, and hopefully we don't have any typos because we're going to test it now. Let's go back to the shopping cart here, and I have an item here for $10.86. So let's just refresh the page here and start from scratch. I have $10.86, 87 cents tax, $9.99 subtotal. So let's try to check out here. Just fill in my name. Alright, so auto populates all this, and then the name on the card, I'm just going to put my own name, and then for card number for testing we can do 4242 repeating 16 times here, like that, and that is a test Visa card that Stripe allows us to use for testing purposes. And then for the CVC we can use any 3 numbers, and then we'll do an expiration, and we're going to go ahead and do an expired month and hit checkout. Okay, and then we got this error returned to us from Stripe that says your card's expiration month is invalid. So then if I change this to an expiration that's not expired, hit checkout. Alright, so it took us to our thank you page. Alright, and we got thank you, your card has been successfully charged $10.86. You have emailed the receipt, blah blah blah. Your receipt number is 5, which is our card ID. Your order will be shipped to the address below. And then looks like I have an undefined variable street on line 60, so we need to figure that out. And then we had, okay, all this looks good. So we need to go check out street, so there's probably a typo there. So on line 60, yep, we're missing the R. Well, let's go ahead to Stripe dashboard and refresh here and see if we have new money. See, this went up to 906.20, and successful charges. We can go ahead and go to transactions and click payments. So our last payment was $10.86 here, and if I click on that, we have the ability to refund this payment if we want. But we can see because we use the 424242, it charged it as a Visa. Tax was 87 cents. Our card ID, this was our metadata that we sent it. Here's our card information here. Shows us the last 4 of the card, the expiration, address, and all of this. That all passed. And I can actually look at these logs, and if I look at the logs, I can see the request post and the response that was sent back to me. And here's that object, so that was a transaction type of charge. If I go ahead and look in the database now and hit browse, we have our first transaction entered here, and we have our transaction, or our charge ID, which we could use later to grab information from Stripe. We have our cart ID, name, just make sure everything's in here, street 2. Okay, it looks like our query all ran just fine. One item from Shanta's Boutique, and then let's go ahead and look in our cart, and we can see that ID number 5, which is what we sent it, the paid has been set to 1. And that's exactly what we want to see. So it looks like, other than my street typo, that everything is good. So let's go ahead and test it again. And if I go to my shopping cart now, our cookie has been destroyed, so it says your shopping cart is empty, which is what we want. Let's just go ahead and build up some items in our shopping cart. So I'm going to add some expensive stuff here. Add a couple of these. I'm going to just make a big ol', oh no, there are only one available, so we can only add one of those, which is fine. What else we got here? Let's go to the front end. How about we buy one of these purses? They're expensive. Let's buy this princess dress. Let's buy these shoes. And let's buy this hoodie. I'll buy 2 of these because they're cheap. Okay, I go to my shopping cart now. You see I got all these items in here, and it comes up to $345.60. 6 total items. Look at your subtotal and your tax. Let's go ahead and check out. So again, if I try to check out without my address, it gives me errors. Next, name on card. We'll do all 4 2s again. CVC, any 3 numbers work. We need to make sure we pick an expiration that's not expired yet. Hit checkout. Now it takes us to the thank you page. We don't have any undefined variables. Your card has been successfully charged $345.60. Your receipt is 6. So let's now go and look in Stripe, make sure that that worked. So if I go to payments, I can see a payment came through of $345.60. If I click on that, I can see all the information about that. You can see the description was 6 items with the S there from our ternary operator from Shanta's Boutique. And if I go to my database now and refresh, the cart ID of 6 is paid. And if I go to my transactions, I have 2 transactions here now. Cart ID of 6. Just go down the list here. I can see all of my subtotal, tax, and grand total. So then I could create, anything I want from this information. I could show these transactions on the back end of the site in a dashboard, which I'm planning on doing. But you can see that everything is good to go. So if we were to have our store all set up and ready to go live, we would just need to switch this over to live, and then in our config file, the only thing we'd have to change here is this checkout mode. We'd have to change that to live, and then we are up and cooking, and then people will charge real money, and that will really go to our account. Another thing that's really nice that Stripe does is that it shows me how much of a fee that Stripe charges for this. So let's look at that. Yeah, so right here, this fee, this is how much Stripe would get from a $345.60 charge. They would only charge you $10.32 to process that. So I think that's a really good deal. You just have fun and look around and make some big payments because it's fake money and it's not really. You can see that, you know, I have my total volume is $1,251.80. Of course, none of that's real. I don't have my own clothing store. But anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed the entire series up to this point. We're gonna do some more stuff, but you know, this was the probably last real big piece. We're gonna do some modules or some widgets on the sides on the home pages and some more filtering, and then we'll probably do a dashboard on the back end just to show some of this stuff. Anyways, thank you guys very much. I've had fun up to this point. I hope you have too. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and have a good night.